recruitment and retention of all court appeals employees. It looks here they asked for $504,000. We gave them $159,000. What we do is we incorporated the 2% $2,000 pay raise. Everybody's getting into that 3%, and we didn't give it to the staff personnel. We just gave it to the attorneys because that's where the shortage is. Under 5.1.9, provide funds to upgrade the Court of Appeals docket system. They asked for $900,000. We didn't give them anything because we fully funded it in the supplemental appropriations already. Judicial Council, there are no changes. Juvenile courts. Grants to county for juvenile court judges. Increased funds to grants for counties for Blue Ridge Judicial Circuit. They asked for $25,000. We didn't give them anything, and the reason for that is they only have 4 judges, not 5, so they didn't qualify for the $25,000 per formula 5th judge increase. Conflict case under prosecuting attorneys. Provide funds for personal services and operating expenses to establish the new conflict case program. What happened here is we've moved the conflict cases from the Attorney General's office to the prosecuting attorneys. And just a short informational bit, conflict cases are when typically we get a new district attorney, and he's been a defense attorney. He can't prosecute those cases that he represented previously, so the Prosecuting Attorneys Council has to put somebody in there to prosecute it. It's pretty substantial. It's going to be $1,801,727 to provide for that. There are over 500 cases pending. District attorneys, 8.4.4, increased funds for one-step increase for assistant district attorneys to support recruitment and retention efforts. They asked for $2,050,815. We gave them $1,554,040. It looks like a decrease, but once again, we incorporated that $2,000 COLA that everybody's getting into the process, so they got their 3%. $8.5.8 to 8.5.11. These are all about the conflict cases. We consolidated them all into one position, so we didn't fund any of that. It's funded in the other area. Superior Court judges. 9.3.9, provide funds for creation of one additional judgeship, and this is in 3 different areas: the Daugherty County Circuit, the Coweta County Circuit, and Atlantic Circuit all got an extra new judge. They begin 1st of January 24, so we funded them for half a year. It's $214,000 apiece. Supreme Court of Georgia, 10.1.9, increased funds for one floating staff attorney position. This is to provide for when they have people on military leave, maternal leave, sick leave, that they have somebody to stand in for them. 10.1.10, increased funds for one central staff attorney position. They got an extreme backlog at the central office. They asked for $216,000. We gave them $219,000 because we incorporated the COLA into it. 10.1.11, increased funds provide a 3% salary adjustment for law clerks and for retention purposes. We did the same thing here we did with the others with the 3%. They asked for $170,000, we gave them $79,000, but they got their 3%. 10.1.13, provide funds to upgrade the Supreme Court docket system. They asked for $832,000. We didn't give them anything because we fully funded it in the amended budget. Moving on to community supervision, and you'll see this throughout throughout the rest of the budget presentation. Under 18.1.5, increased funds provide for a $2,000 salary adjustment for law enforcement officers to reduce turnover and increase retention. Throughout all the law enforcement areas in the rest of the budget, they're all going to get a $2,000 annual increase, in addition to the $2,000 COLA. Moving down to 8.2.5, this is the same thing for those in field services, $5,168,616. 18.3.5, it's the same thing once again, $6,782. And then down to 18.4.5, once again, it's the same thing in that area, $10,174. Moving on to corrections. You'll see a lot of information in the corrections budget here, which talks about transferring funds for a new budget. Somebody at OPB decided to change our budget all around, and they transferred all the funds that are incorporated in their prior budget into new areas, and that's all been changed back, so we're going to disregard all that. It's back like it was. County jail subsidies, 19.2.1, transfer funds to the offender management program and eliminate the county jail subsidy. We've already done that. It's not a problem. We returned $5,000 to the state treasury. The holdup is I keep seeing these things where it's transfer of funds that I'm not going to speak to. So. $19.9.8 under offender management, provide funds for a $3 per diem increase for county correctional institutions. These are the county institutions that typically state prisoners are in, and it costs them about $30 a day to house those prisoners. The old rate was $22. We've upped it to $25 a day, which costs us $5,327,175. Transfer funds from the county jail subsidy program under 1999, $5,000. And then private prisons, increased funds, provide a $2,000 cost of living adjustment for all full-time currently employed correctional officers to maintain salary parity. This includes everybody, staff and all. It's $3,888,000. Under 1910.2, annualized funds for recruitment and retention, $2,967,000. That's only provided for the correctional officers and not the administrative staff. $1912.5, increased funds for a $2,000 salary increase for correctional officers, $490,000. $490,000. 1912.2, increased funds for the opening of McRae State Prison. The state has purchased the McRae State Prison from the private prisons. They're moving all the female prisoners from Lee Arundel in North Georgia down to McRae State Prison, and it's going to cost $25,657,146. That's estimated to take 6 to 10 months to accomplish that feat. Under Department of Defense, there's no changes. Moving on to the Governor's Office, under the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security, 2765 is analyzed funds for recruitment and retention. This is a true up, $706,841 for career ladder. We authorized last year, the governor didn't do it, so we're putting it back in. 27.6.6, provide funds for operation and maintenance for the GEMA Homeland Security South Building at the Public Safety Training Center. This is the secondary emergency operations center that they've established down in Forsyth in case something would happen and they can't use the primary one. It costs $40,000. 2767, provide funds for service and location of tracking of 16 large generators that they use for emergencies. That's $66,227. Moving on to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, under 30.2.5, provide funds for maintenance and collaboration of the Georgia Crime Information System, $4,925,000, $4,925,155. What happened with the passage of constitutional carry is people are no longer required to get background checks, permits. So it's the GCIC has lost $4,925,156 that have to be replaced to run GCIC. $30.3.8 provide funds and stagger start dates for 14 scientists, new scientists, 2 crime lab assistant managers, 2 crime lab technicians, 2 evidence receiving technicians, 1 IT business analyst, and associated operating expenses in the firearms, chemistry, and toxicology sections to process incoming evidence. We all know there's a backlog in the crime labs. This is to try and fund the areas where they have the largest backlog, to the cost of $1,497,000, $1,497,368. Regional Investigative Services at 30.5.5. This is another of the $2,000 increase for law enforcement officers to the tune of $1,097,904. 30.5.7 provide funds including $304,700 in one-time funds to upgrade the investigation unit's case management system to a cloud-based system. This is a 1990 system. This new system will consolidate multiple software and managerial systems all in one system. We funded the startup in the amended budget. It's going to cost $110,205. 30.5.7 provide funds including 30.5.8 provide funds for new leads tracking system to increase efficiency and enhancement in technology investigative capabilities. $705,000. Again, we funded the startup in the amended budget. What this does is the software consolidates huge volumes of digital data to relevant items so that investigators can review it. 30.5.9 provide funds to establish and operate a cold case specialty unit. $2,745,149. 1 special agent in charge, 2 assistant special agents in charge, 10 special agents, 2 criminal intelligence analysts, 2 digital forensic investigators, and 2 admin assistants in office space. Throughout Georgia, I think in just Athens, Clark County, we have 40 cold cases dating back to 1972 that have been resolved, and there are hundreds throughout the state. Most of the time, investigators don't have enough time to go back and work on these cases because they have due pending cases. So what this does is establish a unit that could go throughout the state and work on cold cases that need resolution. Moving down to 30.6.5, analyze funds for recruitment and retention, $890,924. This is in the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, who's administratively attached to the GBI. But last year they got a $5,000 raise. Everybody did. The governor didn't put any money in here. So what the CJCC did was they took the money out of their crime victims fund. So what we're doing is we're putting it back in there. We're making them fiscally sound, $890,924, and then we're providing funds back in 30.6.6 to the Georgia Crime Victims Emergency Fund to make it whole again at $4,566,146. $30.6.7 reduce one-time fund for training grants, taking back $7,500,000. What happened is in last year's budget we provided for a de-escalation training unit at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center. They're going to take over the de-escalation training that the GBI previously had, and we just recently in the amended budget funded 10 vehicles and all the equipment, so they'll take this de-escalation training unit all around the state, go to the local police departments and sheriff's departments and be able to provide that training on site so they won't have to travel to the Public Safety Training Center. 31 point juvenile justice. 31.1 I'm sorry, I skipped one. Important one too. Provide funds under 30.8.1, provide funds for the sexual assault nurse examiners, coordinators, improve access to sane resources for sexual assault centers. $2,525,796. These people are pretty pertinent in sexual assault cases. They have the expertise to make sure all the evidence is collected, and if that doesn't happen, many people who are guilty of sexual assault go free. Under juvenile justice, 31.1.5, increased funds provide for $2,000 salary adjustment for law enforcement officers, $379,940. Again, under Department of Administration, 31.2.5, it's the same thing for $104,230. Secure commitments at the YDC, it's the same thing. Increased funds provided for $2,000 salary increase at $127,766. In secure detention, it's the same thing again, 31.4.5, $127,766. And then we move on to the law department. 33.1.6, provide funds for digital evidence management system, $875,000. This is half. It's storage for gang cases, video evidence for human trafficking. An example is that if you had a gang incident at a Walmart, they have about 30 cameras out in the parking lot. In order to consolidate all that and be able to hold that evidence, they have to have this type of a system. So it's $90,787. 33.1.7, provide funds for a 3-year merit-based retention incentive for attorney positions, $1,624,964. This funds the first year of 3 years. Board of Pardons and Paroles, there's no change. Public Defender Council, and I've explained this before, but what happens with public defenders, typically when we treat public defenders the same as we do district attorneys, whatever monies we give to the district attorneys, we give to the public defenders. Under 37.2.5, utilize existing funds to comply with House Bill 1391. Annualized circuit public defender raised to match the DAs, $1,156,925. 37.2.6, analyze fund for 3 assistant public defenders in the Blue Ridge, Mountain, and South Georgia judicial circuits, $217,743. 37.2.7, increase funds for 3 additional assistant public defender positions for new judgeships, $226,031. 37.2.8, provide funds for 1-step increase and to align the salary scale for assistant public defenders to support recruitment and retention in accordance with the district attorney, $1,907,351. 37.2.9, provide funds for rent expenses for the Regional Alternative Defender Office, $322,953. 37.2.10, provide funds for representation in large multi-defendant cases. These are things like RICO and gang cases. You have 15, 20, 25 defendants. Each one of them is entitled to a public defender. So that's pretty substantial. It comes to $500,000. Department of Public Safety. 39.1.5, increased fund for $2,000 salary adjustment. This is the same thing we've seen in the other areas. $67,200 in aviation. Capitol Police Services, the same thing, $171,360. Department of Administration, the same thing, $20,160. $39.4.5, the same thing, $2,960,160. 39.4.9, they're building a new state patrol post at Jekyll Island. It's bonded, but they need $150,000 for the opening, which is be near the end of fiscal year '24 for furniture, other equipment that's not funded in the bonding package. 39.4.10, provide for the establishment and operation of a Georgia State Patrol satellite post in Buckhead in the city of Atlanta to allow for quicker response to incidents inside and along the northern Atlanta perimeter and afford an additional base operation for the Nighthawks and the DUI task force. $1,250,000, 20 officers. They're coming out of the Nighthawk crowd, which is a federally funded organization, and they were also going to include the motorcycle unit. Under motor carrier compliance, 39.6.5, this is the $2,000 raise again for all the motor carrier compliance officers, $866,880. Moving on to administratively attached units, 39.8.4 is the Georgia Firefighter Standards and Training, provide $55,000 and utilize $220,000 existing funds for ongoing costs for virtual testing for firefighter certification and training. Moving down to the Public Safety Training Center, 39.10.4, increased funds for the $2,000 salary adjustment that we've seen over and over, $312,015. Provide funds for operations, $628,857. This is for the costs in ammo, electric bills, water bills, and sewer bills that have all risen, and certainly we all understand that. 39.10.6, provide funds for annual CPR training for dispatchers. Senate Bill 505 and 2022 provided that all dispatchers must have annual CPR training, and that's going to cost $291,908. And last but not least is the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. 39.11.3, reflect an adjustment in 39.11.4, increase funds and match federal funds for one finance position, $28,839, which will also increase their ability to draw down federal funds. And last, 39.11.5, provide funds for travel, $36,253. And that concludes. If we have any questions from the committee members, we have a motion due pass and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. I don't know how I missed that same thing. I didn't have it marked.